You have a lot of verses today, Ram. I saw on the board there. Ram? Oh.
Girivaradhari Yashodanandana Vrajajana Ranjana Yamuna Tira Vanachari Jayarada Madhava Kunja Vihari Jai Vishnupada Paramahamsa Parvakacharya Satara Satashi Srimad Bhaktivedanta Goswami Maharaj Prabhupada Jai
Jai
Bhagavatam Jai Gaura Premanandi. All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to the assembled devotees.
Hare Krishna.
All glories to Shri Shri Guru and Garanga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
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 Today we're reading from the Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 1, text 29 through 50-something, 55. A lot of verses. Narayanam namaskritya narang chaiva narottamam deving saraswatim vyasam tato jayamodiraye. So we're starting on text 29. We'll just chant this one together. Please repeat. Maitreya vacha.
No, I got to bring it up here. Hang on.
Iti tasya vacha shrutva.
Iti tasya vacha shrutva.
Can everybody see the verse? I have it on the screen.
Yeah.
Okay. Trayaste vibudar shabaha.
Trayaste vibudar shabaha.
Tatyahu shlak shanaya vacha.
Tatyahu shlakshyanaya vacha.
Rahasyatam rishim prabho.
Rahasyatam rishim prabho.
Tasya vacha shrutva.
Iti tasya vacha shrutva.
Trayaste vibudar shabaha.
Trayaste vibudar shabaha.
Pratyahu shlakshana vacha.
Pratyahu shlakshana vacha.
Rahasyatam rishim prabho.
Rahasyatam rishim prabho. Maitreya uvacha.
Maitreya uvacha.
Iti tasya vachakshutva.
Iti tasya vachakshutva.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Pratyahu shlakshnyaya vacha.
Pratyahu
shlakshnyaya vacha. Prahasyatam rashing prabho.
Prahasyatam rashing prabho.
Iti tasya vachakshirutva.
Iti tasya parachatya.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Pratyahu shlakshณaya vacha.
Pratyahu shlakshณaya vacha.
Prahasyatam rishing prabho.
Prahasyatam rishing prabho.
Maitreya uvacha.
Maitreya uvacha.
Iti tasya vacha shrutva.
Iti tasya vacha shrutva.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Pratyahu shlakshณaya vacha.
Pratyahu shlakshณaya vacha.
Rahasyatam rishim prabho.
Rahasyatam rishim prabho.
Maitreya
vacha.
Iti tasya vacha shrutva.
Iti
tasya vacha shrutva.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Trayaste vibudharshabha.
Pratyahu Shlakshnaya Vacha
Pratyahu Lakshmaya Vacha
Rahasyatam Rishim Prabho
Rahasyatam Rishim Prabho. Someone's talking in the background there, Ram.
You know what? Because we got so many verses, I'm going to go ahead and mute everybody. Okay, so, oh, by the way, I forgot to mention that today is first day of Milk Fast, Srila Prabhupada's sannyas, acceptance of sannyas, Vishwarup Mahotsav, so Vishwarup's acceptance of sannyas, Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's expansion, and the third month of Chaturmasha, so that's why it's a milk fast. Okay, so Maitreya Vacha, the sage Maitreya said, Iti thus tasya, his Vacha words, Shrutva, after hearing, Trayate, all three, Vibuddha, demigods, Rishabhaha, chiefs, Pratiyahu, replied, Shlakshnaya, gentle, Vacha, voices, Prahasya, smiling, Tam, unto him, Rishim, the great sage, Prabhu, Almighty One. So, if you're tuning in with your computer, I am going to be sharing my screen, and I've got a very complicated screen today. Let's see. I think this would be very helpful because we have a lot of things to cover today. So I'm not going to be chanting any more of the Sanskrit verses because we have so many to cover. The reason why I chose so many verses today was because Giri Govardhan Prabhu is giving class tomorrow, and I didn't want to give him just a lot of reading to do. Because he's highly philosophical. So that's why we're covering so many, and they're pretty much the same kind of subject matter. So without further ado, we'll get into this. The name of the chapter is a genealogical table of the daughters of Manu. So what we'll be discussing for the most part is descendants not only of the daughters of Manu, but the daughters of Kardama, and all of their descendants. So I'm going to be using especially two charts and one fabulous painting that Pushkar shared with us, one of his paintings. So one thing I wanted to point out is that sometimes we question what is exactly the position of the demigods of Manu. It's a little mysterious for our Kali Yuga brains, especially in the West. What is the purpose of Manu? One thing that I think I captured by really studying the chart that you see in front of you. I got two charts, one that I made myself and then this one right here. If you're looking at the screen, it's the genealogical table for the most important personalities that are discussed within the Bhagavatam. And right now, what we're discussing, the end of the third canto and the fourth canto, a lot of descendants are being discussed at once. So it would appear that when it talks about the 8,400,000 species of life and 400,000 are human beings, those include all of the demigods. And I say that because of this. If you look at this family tree, we've got Krishna, Lord Brahma, and then the various other descendants, and a lot of these in big type, they're the Manus, Swayambhuva Manu, Chakshusha Manu, Vairasvatu Manu. So they are the progenitors, and they are the heads of dynasties of great, great personalities. There is an office of weights and measures someplace in the United States. I forget where. I think there's one division that actually has a bar made out of solid gold, and that's what they measure inches, feet and yards with, and also the metric system. I believe it's in Arizona someplace, I forget. But it's made out of solid gold. And you would think, why is that? The reason is that gold is the immutable metal. It never tarnishes, it never rusts, it never deteriorates. It's the closest thing you can get to something spiritual in this world. Because it never deteriorates, you can always rely on it never changing. So that's why they have this solid gold bar, and that's what they use for weights and measures all over the world. The same kind of thing. So why would they use that gold? It's because it never changes, and everything else is measured against that as time goes on. It can be relied on. It is the example of how we measure everything else. Similarly, the Manus. The Manus are the progenitors of all the other races, species, and especially of mankind, which also includes the demigods as well, as far as I can see. And I think you definitely see that as we study this genealogical table. Krishna in the Bhagavad Gita, he says, Kamosmi Bharatarshava, that I am sex life, which is according to religious principles. So in the Kali Yuga, it's hard for us, especially Westerners, actually anyone in the Kali Yuga, to imagine that you can have actually pure sexual intercourse. But when you study, by pure I mean without any selfish motive, for the purpose of serving the Lord. So by studying this chart, I think you'll see that these are great, great personalities. And the dynasties that they produce are astonishing as we go through this. So this will be a genealogical table, not only the daughters of Manu, but also Cardamom, and we'll see it as we go through. So I just wanted to point out one other thing before we actually start getting into the verses. I know I haven't even given a translation yet, which I generally don't like to do, but because we have so many verses, this is going to be a little bit different than other classes that we might give. But in verse 47, in this group of verses, it says that anyone who hears the description of this dynasty with faith is relieved from all sinful reactions. This is the purpose. It's not just a list of names, like whatever. No, if one hears it with attention and with faith, he's released from all sinful reactions. As we know in Bhagavad Gita, Krishna says, Yeshan Twanta Gadam Papam, that verse where he says that those who are free from all sinful reactions, Bhajante Mang Drita Vrita, they can serve me with determination by being purified. So by hearing, by not just, like whatever, doing something else, let's get through this. But if we actually hear it with attention, trying to understand, and with great faith, then we can be free just by that from all of our sinful reaction, and then be able to serve the Lord. So if we just look at this chart now, I'm going to change my cursor here. I'm going to monitor the chat since everybody is muted, but you should be seeing an arrow right here. So this is a chart of the Srimad Bhagavatam's family tree. And just two things I want to point out about it right now. One is that we read in the Krishna book, from the first time we picked it up as a devotee, that Lord Krishna appeared in the Kshatriya dynasty, and that of the moon. There's two Kshatriya dynasty, one descending from the sun god, one descending from the moon. So we are going to go over this right now to understand. There's Soma, and then there's Vivishwan. All of these come from Devahuti, and Kapila was one of her sons, and then there was 9 other daughters, and one of those was at Anasuya and Atri, and so they had this triple incarnation Dattatreya of Lord Vishnu, incarnation of Durvasa, of Lord Shiva, and then Soma. So from Soma came this entire dynasty, until you see here, Lord Krishna appeared in that dynasty of the moon, And that's why, even though the moon shouldn't have been full when he appeared, it appeared as full because he was overjoyed. Whereas the other dynasty, from Vivashwan, from the sun god, that dynasty, eventually the Lord Ramachandra, he appeared in that dynasty. So from the beginning we can see all kinds of incarnations and great, great personalities. What to speak of the Lord himself will appear in these various dynasties. So let us lend our ear. And lastly, a point I was going to make before we start is that because there are so many verses, instead of like focusing on one main point, I'm going to have to divide it between two major headings. One is we're just ending the description about Dattatreya. So I wanted to establish what I understand as far as what the nature and mission of Dattatreya is, and that is that he is Vishnu acting in the capacity of a jiva, and he preaches impersonalism. That is his mission. And for the sake of Atri, he has appeared. And then after that, we'll move into the dynasty, beginning from Brahma to Ramanus and Kardama, his descendants. And we'll end, starting with Dattatreya, and then we'll end with Narayana Rishi. So if we can just follow that. What is Dattatreya's position? And then after that, go through the descendants all the way to end Narayana Rishi, so we don't get lost. And then the last thing I wanted to do before actually starting on the verses is this is a absolutely fabulous painting done by Pushkar Prabhu. I don't remember ever seeing this before, but the colors, the composition, the feeling that you get through it is just amazing. So this is Atri Muni, as we remember, he was standing on one leg for thousands of years, whatever it was, and he couldn't very well get up, so he had to hobble on over to pay his prostrated dandavats. And then there he saw, accompanied by the Gandharvas and the Kinnaras and all the celestial beings, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva coming before him. So that's what we're going to begin this whole description with. So I thought it would be really nice to share this painting with all of you. It's just amazing. So with that, we will begin. So I'm just going to be reading the English translations and the purports. So, starting with text 29. The great sage Maitreya continued. This is the translation to the verse that we just chanted the Sanskrit. So, the great sage Maitreya continued. Upon hearing Atri Muni speak in that way, the three great deities smiled, and they replied in the following words. Text 30. The three deities told Atri Muni, Dear Brahmana, you are perfect in your determination, and therefore, as you have decided, so it will happen. It will not happen otherwise. We are all the same person upon whom you were meditating, and therefore we have all come to you. So there's a purport. This is the longest purport. There's only going to be 2 or 3 other purports with just 2 or 3 sentences. So this is 2 paragraphs. Purport. Atri Muni unspecifically thought of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, although he had no clear idea of the Lord of the universe nor his specific form. Mahavishnu, from whose breathing millions of universes emanate, into whom they are again withdrawn, may be accepted as the Lord of the universe. Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, from whose abdomen sprouts lotus flower, which is the birthplace of Brahma, may also be considered the Lord of the universe. Similarly, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, who is the supersoul of all living entities, may also be considered the Lord of the universe. Then under the order of Kshirodakshaya Vishnu, from within the universe, Lord Brahma and Lord Shiva may also be accepted as lords of the universe. Vishnu is the Lord of the universe because he is a maintainer. Similarly, Brahma creates the different planetary systems and the population, so he also may be considered the Lord of the universe. Or Lord Shiva, who is ultimately the destroyer of the universe, also may be considered its Lord. Therefore, since Atri Muni did not specifically mention whom he wanted, all three, Brahma, Vishnu, and Shiva, came before him. They said, since you are thinking of having a son exactly like the Supreme Personality of Godhead, the Lord of the universe, your determination will be fulfilled. In other words, one's determination is fulfilled according to the strength of one's devotion. As stated in Bhagavad Gita 9.25, Yanti Deva Vrta Devan Pitring Yanti Pitri Vrta Aha. If one is attached to a particular demigod, one is promoted to the abode of that demigod. If one is attached to the Pitris or the forefathers, one is promoted to that planet. And similarly, if one is attached to the Supreme Personality of Godhead, Krishna, one is promoted to the abode of the Lord Krishna. Atri Muni had no clear conception of the Lord of the universe. Therefore, the three presiding deities, who are actually the lords of the universe in the three departments of the modes of nature, all came before him. Now, according to the strength of his determination for a son, his desire would be fulfilled by the grace of the Lord. So I just wanted to tell one quick story about this as an example. I like this Ravinda Prabhu. By the way, Ravinda Prabhu, his health is failing, so if we could all offer our sincere prayers for him. He was in the hospital just a day or two ago, and now he's recuperating at home. So please offer your prayers for him. So I give a real nice example, one of these Buddhist stories that this woman, her son was going to Gaia, and her son was, not really very interested in spiritual life, but as a devout Buddhist, she asked him to please get some sort of a relic when you go to Gaia. So when he went there, he was trying to find something. Evidently they were quite poor, so he couldn't find anything, and he just took a tooth that he found from a dead dog, and he brought that back with him. And when he came home, he told his mother, this is the tooth that's a relic of the Buddha. So his mother was so devoted that she took that tooth and worshipped it with great devotion every day, and eventually that tooth started to emanate an aura, shining because of her devotion. So according to our determination, Krishna, the Lord, can appear or empower his devotees, his servants, to appear as well. So he's appeared to Atri. He wasn't specific, so he didn't specifically get the personality of Godhead, but he did get what he asked for because of his determination. Now, departing a little bit from the purport, or actually quite a bit from the purport of this verse, I wanted to make this point going back to text 15. I mentioned it the other day, but this is important, I think, because Dattatreya is an incarnation, and we're just about to leave this section, not to return. And only once or twice will Dattatreya even be mentioned again in the Bhagavatam. So before we leave, I wanted to point out that in verse 15, the Sanskrit sloka, in the first line it says, Atma Ishvara Brahma Sambhavam, which refers to all three of these deities. And Srila Prabhupada points out that Atma refers to the super soul. That is Vishnu, Kshirodakshaya Vishnu. So, and Dattatreya, he is a partial representation of Lord Vishnu, whereas Isha, or Shiva, he is going to appear as Durvasa, a partial representation of Shiva, and Lord Brahma is going to appear in a partial representation as Soma. So Dattatreya is described as Vivinangsha Bhutanam. Vivinangsha, we recognize that's the nomenclature for a jiva. So Srila Prabhupada points out in the purport that that Vishnu, or the super soul, he's the seed-giving father of all living entities. He's the super soul of our Atma, the super soul of everyone. So that super soul became manifested as Dattatreya. And just so we can think about these words, so vibhinangsha. Angsha means part and parcel. If we look up in the dictionary, a part and parcel is defined as if you say that something is part and parcel of something else, you are emphasizing that it is involved or is included in it. So it's a part of something, an integral part. And then Srila Prabhupada quotes from the Varaha Purana, and he explains that vibhinangsha refers to the jivas, or the separated parts. So vibhinangsha, so bina means, it's an adjective which means something's different, something is alien. Bina, and then when you say vibhina, it becomes an adverb, and that means actually divided or separated. So vibhinangsha means a part and parcel that's actually separated from the whole eternally. So we have two types of classification. One is the vibhinangshas, the part and parcels of the Supreme, and then we have svangshas. Svangshas are his personal parts. They are Vishnu. And then in the purport, he explains that there are different gradations of living entities. In the Vedanta Sutra, it explains, as far as the jiva goes, that it's just like candle power. You may have 1,000 candle power, 500, 150 candle power, just depending on how much candle power there is. That's how much brilliance comes. So he's pointing out, Srila Prabhupada is pointing out, that not only the jivas, but the Vishnu Svangsha expansions are in the same way. He says, the Vishnu Svangsha expansions of the Supreme Lord in different Vishnu forms are like lamps. Lord Shiva is also a lamp. And the Supreme Candle Power, or the 100%, is Krishna. So we know these percentages. Krishna is 100%. Shiva Tattva, Vishnu Tattva is up to 94% of Krishna's qualities is exhibited. Shiva Tattva is 84%, whereas Lord Brahma, the greatest living entity in this universe, up to 78% of the qualities of the Supreme Lord Krishna. And then in text 8 of this chapter, again, I don't want to get too detailed, but before we move on, I just wanted to cover these points. It stated that the incarnation of Yajna that we just discussed, that Yajna incarnation, he manifested 6 kinds of jivas that were generated from his bodies. So just listen to this. They come in gradations as well. So we have Brahma, and then we have, number 1, the Manus. And then under them, then there's the Devas. Then there's the Manu Putras. Then the Angs avatars. There's no explanation for what these are, but you can kind of understand from the Sanskrit what it's referring to. It's like a part of an empowered living entity. These are all jivas. And then these Shureshvaras. And there's no explanation for that, but it must be some sort of powerful being to have a title like Shureshvara. And then underneath them, the Rishis. So all of these different types of jivas are there. Manus, Devas, Manuputras, Angsa Avatar, Shureshvaras, and Rishis. So there's all these different gradations. So therefore, just trying to close out this point, Prabhupada says in the purport, therefore the words Atmesha Brahma Sambhavam indicate that Dattatreya was directly part and parcel of Vishnu, whereas Durvasa and Soma were parts and parcels of Lord Shiva and Lord Brahma. So the conclusion, although I may be wrong, please go ahead. Maybe at the end of the class, if you want to challenge me on this, that's fine. But what I've understood from this is that Dattatreya, as described as Vibhinangsha Bhutanam, means that he's a gradation of the Vishnu Tattva, or a plenary portion of the Paramatma. It's just like it's described, that the Vishnu Tattva can have up to 94% of the qualities of the primeval Lord Krishna. So similarly, Dattatreya, he is a manifestation of Vishnu Tattva, but he's manifesting himself on the level of a jiva. Why? Because Atri Muni did not pray for the Supreme Lord, so he did not exactly get the Supreme Lord. And I wanted to back this up by a letter to Jayadvaita from Srila Prabhupada in Los Angeles, July the 12th, 1970. I beg to acknowledge receipt of your letter dated blah, blah, blah regarding missing translation from Canto 1, Chapter 3, Verse 6. The translation is, so in the beginning of the creation, first of all, there were 4 unmarried sons of Rama, Kumaras, and they underwent severe austerities, being situated in avowed celibacy for realization of the absolute truth. Regarding your second point, all incarnations should be proper nouns and therefore capitalized. It does not matter whether they're Vishnu Tattva, Jiva Tattva, or Shaktivesh Avatar, or plenary expansions. Now listen to this. The incarnations listed, however, may be classified as follows. Vishnu Tattva, Kapila, Narayan, Rama, Balaram, Krishna, the Purushas, the Vor, Yagya, Rishava, Matsya, Kurma, Dhanvantari, Mohini, Kalki. And now, the Jiva Tattvas, empowered, Narda, Vyas, Buddha, Kumaras, Dattatreya, Prithu, and Bhrigu. So Srila Prabhupada here, he's pointing out that Dattatreya should be classified as a Jivatma, Jiva Tattva, empowered living entity. However, we just read in this description in the 4th canto how he's a part and parcel of Vishnu. So which is he? Is he Jiva or is he Vishnu? As far as I can tell, my conclusion has been, for whatever it's worth, is that Dattatreya is Vishnu. Just as Vishnu, he can manifest his qualities through the jivas. And those jivas, such as Prithu, Bhrigupati, Narada, Vyas, the Kumaras, those qualities a jiva cannot possess. However, Krishna acts through those jivas to manifest his godly qualities through his empowered representatives. That's a Shaktivesh avatar. Dattatreya is a little different. This is Vishnu acting with the quality of a jiva. And I wanted to support that, not that it's complete mental speculation, but I do have something to back this up. Again, to just close this out, this is from text 20, where Srila Prabhupada says that Atri Muni had no specific idea of the personality of Godhead. He didn't even know what the Lord's name was, and he wanted a son like the Lord, not the Lord himself. So therefore, because he wasn't a pure devotee, he did not get the Lord exactly. And then, my last point is that in the 8th canto, chapter 3, verse 12, in the translation purport, it says, I'll have to read the whole thing, it says, I offer my respectful obeisances unto Vasudeva, who is the all-pervading, who is the Lord's fierce form of Lord Nrsimhadev. To the Lord's first fierce form, I offer my obeisances. To the Lord's form as an animal, Lord Varaha. To the Lord Dattatreya, who preached impersonalism. To Lord Buddha and to the other incarnations, I offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has no material qualities, but who has accepted 3 qualitative modes of goodness, passion, and ignorance within the material world. I also offer my respectful obeisances to the impersonal Brahman effulgence. And then the sentence that I wanted to read from that purport was that even impersonalists who stress knowledge of the feature of the Supreme Personality of Godhead, who want to merge into the effulgence of the Lord, therefore, here the word jnana, ganaya, indicates that for atheists who disbelieve in the form and existence of the Lord, all these various incarnations appear. So in order to fulfill the determination of Atri Muni, the Lord appeared in one of his incarnations here, as Dattatreya, who preached impersonalism. So that was his mission. His purpose was to satisfy Atri Muni, desire, and then his mission was to preach impersonalism. So that's that. I know it's a little bit long-winded, but I need to make my point. Then we move on to the rest. So that was text 30. Now we'll begin with text 31. Just the translations. You will have sons who will represent a partial manifestation of our potency. And because we desire all good fortune for you, those sons will glorify your reputation throughout the world. Text 32. Thus, while the couple looked on, the three deities, Brahma, Vishnu, and Maheshwar, disappeared from that place after bestowing upon Atri Muni the benediction. And then 33. Thereafter, from the partial representation of Brahma, the moon god was born of them. From the partial representation of Vishnu, the great mystic Dattatreya was born, and from the partial representation of Shankara, Lord Shiva, Durvasa was born. Now you may hear from me about the sons of Angira. So now we're changing gears. So I would like to introduce a new chart. I hope you're looking at this, because otherwise it may be a little difficult to follow along. So we've got two charts here. Whoops. Let's see. Go back to my normal mode. Oh, can't get rid of that. Okay, anyway. So two charts. One is the family tree of the Bhagavatam, produced by the DVT, and then because we're talking about something very specific here, about the descendants of not only Swayambhuva Manu, but also Kardama, I developed this chart. So I wanted to just briefly explain this chart that we made up, which is on the right, so that when we go through these verses, so that when we read them, they'll have hopefully more meaning to all of us. So it goes from left to right and from top to bottom, basically. So as you can see here in this chart, I'll get my pointer back again. Arrow. So you should see an arrow right here. We have Lord Brahma coming from Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. His duty was to create all the planets and then the inhabitants of the entire universe. So the first sons of Lord Brahma were the Kumaras. These are also Manasaputras, mental sons of Lord Brahma. However, the Kumaras were such elevated beings that they did not want to become entangled, so they stayed little boys, little children, and they did not want to propagate, to produce progeny. So Lord Brahma became very angry with him, and then the next, Rudra appeared from his forehead. So Rudra, he manifested himself in 11 expansions, and those are the Rudra expansions of Lord Shiva. And those 11 Rudra expansions had their energies, which are 11 Rudranis. So from those Rudras and Rudrani expansions, the whole universe was getting filled up, but they were so fierce that they were devouring the universe. So Lord Brahma was not at all satisfied with what had happened. So he asked Rudra to please be pacified and to not produce further. So after Rudra stopped, then next Lord Brahma created 10 more sons, 10 Manasaputras. So you can see here, along with this graph, what happened to my pointer? I gotta go back to my pointer. Oh, it's an arrow. Okay, there we go. So right here we have all the different sons of Brahma that were created from his mind in different parts of his body, because he has a most subtle body. So Marichi came from his mind, Atri from his eyes, Angira from his mouth, Pulasya from his ears, Pulaha from his navel, Kratu from his hand, Brigu, touch from his sense of touch, Vashishta from his breathing, and Daksha from his thumb. And then Narada came from the best part of his body, which was his breathing. So these are all the sons of Lord Brahma, and he created these with the intent that they would populate the universe properly. However, he was still not satisfied. Narada never married, and the others are great, great sages. So again, in frustration, he was thinking how to fulfill his duty, and then from his shadow, Kardama Muni was born. However, still he was thinking how to populate the universe sufficiently, and because of his ardent desire, because of his determination, Swayambhuva Manu, the original first Manu, was born from the body of Lord Brahma along with his queen Sadarupa. And they were the ones who populated the universe. So, as you can see over here, they had 3 daughters, Prasuti, Devahuti, and Akuti. So now we're going to switch over to this chart over here. I hope everybody's following along. Oops, I have to go back to get my pointer. Okay. Go here. Okay, so here we have Lord Brahma. He gives birth to Swayambhuva Manu. But before that, we have over on this side, on the left-hand side, all these other progenies. Of course, the chart isn't complete because he did give birth to religion from his front side, from the back side, irreligion. He gave birth to Vak, etc. But in order for simplicity, not to be overcomplicated, the sons, the Manasaputras of Lord Brahma, are over on this side, Pulasha, Angira, Vishishta, Palaha, etc., that we just mentioned. And then there's special emphasis for Marichi and Atri, which we're going to cover in a minute. Now let's go back over to the right side. So we have Lord Brahma giving birth to Swayambhuva Manu. So this is like how everything starts to move as far as population of the universe to satisfy Lord Brahma's purpose. So Swayambhuva Manu and his wife, his queen Sadarupa, they had 2 boys, which was Priyavrata and Uttanapad, and then Akuti, Prasuti, and Devahuti. Now we just finished the 3rd canto where it introduced us to Lord Kapila along with his 9 sisters. So the 9 sisters were this Anasuya and Kala, and then 7 other daughters. So now we're going to switch back over here. So we had these Manasaputras of Lord Brahma. Oops, I have to clear this. Button, sorry. In order to click, I have to change my cursor. Okay, so we have the Manasaputras over here. Oh, now you're not looking at my cursor anymore. I got to change it. Let's see. Arrow. Okay, so here's the Manasaputras. Now here's their various wives in green. So the blue are all the sons of Brahma on this side and over on this side. The ones that are these green rectangles, this all has to do with all the daughters of Kardama. So that's why I made over here where it says Kardama. I know it may be a little difficult to see, but if you can just try and follow along with my arrow here. Kardama, the first son of Lord Brahma before Swayambhuva Manu, I have him turning from blue to green, and if you follow over here, all of these green, that means these are the daughters that he gave away to these various sons of Lord Brahma. So Marichi, he married Kala, and look who they produced. Eventually Kashyapa came in their dynasty, and if you come over here to this chart, we've got Atri and Marichi. So under Marichi, married to Kala, Kashyapa, and from Kashyapa comes Diti and Aditi, all this different dynasties, Vaivashvata Manu, all the way down to Lord Ramachandra. So both the Daityas and the demons, it's an illustrious dynasty comes from that union. So that's just one, Marichi. And then the next one is Atri and Anasuya. So we just read about Atri and Anasuya, the couple. They gazed on and then the three deities said that will appear as your sons. So that was Dattatreya, Soma, and Durvasa. So if you come back over here to this chart, Atri gave birth to Soma, and Soma Buddha, and then it goes all the way down to all these different dynasties until it gets to the Kuru dynasty, then the Pandavas, etc., and then over on this side is Shurasena, Vasudeva, and then Sri Krishna and Balaram, etc. So again, amazing dynasty. So again, this is the meaning of a Prajapati of the Manus. The Manus give birth to all these great personalities along with incarnations. So that's what their importance is. They give by their example, by their laws, they guide human society, and from their stock, all these great personalities come. Not like in the Kali Yuga, like us, if in the West, we act like cats and dogs, and we raise cats and dogs, and they become cats and dogs. What's described here, why we're studying this so intensely, why it's so important, is because of look at the personalities that come from these unions. So that was Atri and Anasuya from Angira, coming from the mouth of Lord Brahma. He was married to Kardama's daughter by the name of Shraddha, and Brihaspati came from that union. Then Pulasha, he married Havirbu, who had a son whose name was Vishrava. So this Vishrava was a great sage. However, he had two wives. I forgot the name of the two wives. We'll cover that in a minute when we read. But one wife gave birth to Kuvera, the treasure of the demigods, and the other wife gave birth to Ravana and all of their siblings. So quite a dynasty there. Pulaha, he came from the navel. He married Gati, and Pulaha is a very interesting personality. He was not only a Prajapati, but he also became one of the 7 rishis during the time of Swayambhuva Manu, the first Manu. And he was cursed by Lord Shiva, and he was burnt to ashes. So in his next birth, he took birth during the reign of Vaivasvata Manu, and at that time he manifested from the hair of Agni, and he again manifested as Pulaha. So we hear about Pulaha ashram. Kratu, moving along, Kratu married Kriya, and there were 60,000 Valakilyas. We'll hear about them. Brigu, he married Gyati, and from them came Markandeya Muni and Sukracharya. And then we have Vishishta married Arundhati, and from them came Trichaketu. So these are all great, great personalities that we hear about in the Bhagavatam. So those are the daughters of Kardama, and then over here we have Swayambhuva Manu. So in red we have his 3 daughters, Prasuti, Devahuti, and Akuti. So Prasuti, she gave birth in her dynasty to Narnarayan Rishi, and that's where we're going to stop in our description. Devahuti, of course, Kapila, and Ruchi, which was another son of Lord Brahma, he married Swayambhuva Manu's daughter Akuti, and from Akuti came Yagya, the Yagya avatar. And Akuti gave birth to both Yagya and Dakshina, and even though Swayambhuva Manu had Priyavata and Uttanapada as sons, still he wanted to have the son of Akuti and Ruchi as his child. So that Yagya went over to Swayambhuva Manu, and then he later married, Yagya married Dakshina, because that was his eternal consort. So I hope as I read you can follow along in this chart. I can't fit them all at the same time, so I elected to have them both up at this time with my chart in the front. Hopefully that will be helpful as we finally read through the verses. Again, I don't normally like to do this with so many interruptions without going through the verses first, but there's just so much to cover. I had to go through it like this. Okay, so we left off on text 33. Now we go on to text 34. Angira's wife, Shraddha Devi. Oh, I should have left my pointer up. Let me put my pointer back. Okay, here we go. Angira, here we are right here. So Angira's wife, Shraddha, gave birth to 4 daughters named Shinivali, Kuhu, Raka, and Anumati. Text 35. Besides these 4 daughters, she also had another 2 sons. One of them was known as Uttatya, and the other was the learned scholar Brihaspati. Can you imagine? And then, text 36, Pulasya. Here we are. Pulasya begot his wife, Havirvu, one son by the name of Agastya, who in the next birth became Gaurangi. Besides him, Pulyasya begot another great sage and saintly son whose name was Vishrava. So this Vishrava was a great saintly person. However, look who he begot. Text 37. Vishrava had 2 wives. The first wife was Ida Vida, from whom Kuvera, the master of the Yakshas, was born. And the next wife was named Keshani, from whom 3 sons were born: Ravana, Kumbhakarna, and Vibhishan. Then we come to Pulaha. Gadi, the wife of the sage Pulaha, gave birth to 3 sons named Karmak Sheshta, Variyan, and Sahishnu. And all of them were great sages. Purport. Gati, the wife of Pulaha, was the 5th daughter of Kardama Muni. She was very faithful to her husband, and all her sons were as good as he. Text 39. Kratu. Kratu's wife, Kriya, gave birth to 60,000 great sages, named the Balakilyas. All these sages were greatly advanced in spiritual knowledge, and their bodies were illuminated by such knowledge. Purport. Kriya was the 6th daughter of Kardama. By the way, you'll notice as we go through these translations that the first daughter is given, the second daughter, the third daughter is given in sequence to all these different sons of Brahmas as they appeared as well. In Vedic culture, you would marry first the eldest son, then the next eldest son, then the next eldest son. That's how it was done. So the eldest daughter was given, then the next daughter, then the next daughter, then the next daughter. That's how it was done. So this is the 6th daughter of Kardama Muni, and she produced 60,000 sages, and they were known as Balakilyas because they all retired from family life as Vanaprasthas. So Valakilya became Vanaprastha. So there were 60,000 of them, and these sages were the size no bigger than a thumb. They were very tiny. Once Lord Indra was performing a great sacrifice, and he saw these sages who were also trying to engage, helping with the sacrifice. During these great sacrifice, the king themselves, they would go and collect personally the firewood. So Lord Indra for this huge sacrifice, he got this huge stack of wood, because of his prowess, and was carrying it. And then he saw the Valakilyas, who were these tiny little sages, effulgent like that, but they were struggling. 60,000 of them were struggling to carry one little branch. And he just thought it was so hilarious that he uncontrollably started to laugh. But the Valakilyas did not take it very lightly. So they cursed him that this Indra is so arrogant. He is not fit to be the Lord of the heavenly planets. Therefore, let there be another Indra who is greater in prowess than him. So Indra kind of forgot about the curse. He was afraid of it, but he kind of forgot about it. So later on, born of Kadru and Binata, I forgot who was it. Anyway, was it Binata or Kadru? I think it was Kadru. Gave birth to Garuda. And Garuda, when he was born, the demigods thought he was the sun god. They asked him, please, don't shine so brightly. And then Lord Brahma reminded them it's because of the indiscretion of Indra that this son of Kadru, I think it was Kadru, has been born to challenge Indra. So later on, there's a whole pastime of how Garuda got nectar from the demigod, snatched it away, and the reason that Indra was defeated was because he had insulted these Valakilyas. Anyway, not to get too much wrapped up in the story because it will never get done, but let's continue. I thought that was an amazing story from the Mahabharata. Text 40 is the great sage Vishishta begot in his wife. Let's go down to Vishishta. Let's see. Urja, sometimes called Arundhati. Sorry, here's Vishishta. Arundhati. 7 spotless great sages headed by the sage named Chitraketu. So Arundhati, when I do Indian weddings, you always cite Dhruva, the pole star, as being fixed and immovable, and Arundhati, one should be as devoted, as fixed in their vow as to the husband as the pole star is fixed, and similarly one should be as devoted as Arundhati is to Vishishta. So she's side is very, very chaste. So text 41 is the names of these 7 sages are as follows: Chitraketu, Sorocha, Viraja, Mitra, Ubana, Basu, Bridhyana, and Dhuman. Some other very competent sons were born from Vishishta's other wife. Purport: Uja, who is sometimes known as Arundhati, was the wife of Vishishta, was the 9th daughter of Kardama. Okay. Text 42. Chitta, wife of the sage Atharva. Now, I tried to find Atharva and I could not find much about him, so I don't know much to say. But anyway, the sage Atharva gave birth to a son named Ashva Shirva. I'm sorry, I mispronounced. Ashva Shira, by accepting a great vow called Dana Dansha. Now you may hear from me about the descendants of the sage Bhrigu. So now we're changing gears. So purport: the wife of Atharva, known as Chitti, was also known as Shanti. She was the 8th daughter of Kardama Muni. And then text 43. The sage Bhrigu was highly fortunate in his wife known as Kaya. So we go back up here to Bhrigu. He begot 2 sons named Datta and Vidatta, and 1 daughter named Shri, who was very much devoted to the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Okay, so Datta and Vidatta were his sons. The sage Meru had 2 daughters named Ayati and Niyati, whom he gave in charity to Datta and Vidatta. Ayati and Niyati gave birth to 2 sons which were Merkanda and Prana. Text 45. From Merkanda, Markandeya Muni was born, and from Prana, the sage Vedashirsha, whose son was Ushana, who is Sukracharya. So that's where you have here. That's why I pointed out here that Sukracharya is in this lineage from Markandeya Muni and then Sukracharya. So Ushana, also known as Sukracharya, also known as Kavi. Thus Kavi also belong to the descendants of the Bhrigu dynasty. Texts 46 and 47. My dear Vidura, the population of the universe was thus increased by the descendants of these sages and the daughters of Kardama. Anyone who hears the description of this dynasty with faith will be relieved from all sinful reactions. Another of Manu's daughters, known as Prasuti, married the son of Brahma, known as Daksha. Okay, so over in this chart, we'll see all the descendants of Daksha. I gotta find them. I think they're over here. Sorry, I gotta again switch my pointer so I can click on this. Daksha. I'm sorry, I got lost. Just too many things. Sorry. Anyway, let's continue reading. Daksha begot... Oh, I'm sorry, now I remember where it is. Over here, because there's Husdara and Rishi. There you go. Here it is. Prasuti. Husband was Daksha. There it is. There's the lineage. Oh, you're not seeing my pointer. Okay, get it back. There's my pointer. Okay, here's the arrow. So here's Daksha, who married Prasuti. And then we're going to follow this lineage down until we get to Narayan Rishi. So we're almost done with the narration. We're going to end up here at Narayan Rishi. So Daksha begot 16, as you can see here. 12 daughters here, and then the other daughters here. So 16 very beautiful daughters with lotus-like eyes in his wife Prasuti. See, here we go. Prasuti, the daughter of Swayambhuva Manu. Of these 16 daughters, 13 were given in marriage to Dharma, and one daughter was given to Agni. And then text 49 through 52, one of the remaining 2 daughters was given in charity to the Pitriloka, where she resides very amicably, and the others were given to Lord Shiva, who is the deliverer of sinful persons from the material entanglement. So you can see over here that, who was that? That was Sati from Prasuti. Her daughter was Sati, who was given to Lord Shiva. So the names of these 13 daughters are Daksha, who were given to Dharma are Shraddha, Maitri, Daya, Shanti, Tushti, Pushti, Kriya. By the way, these are all energies of the Lord, names of energies of the Lord. But anyway, Unati, Buddhi, Meda, Tishdiksha, Kri, and Murti. These 16 daughters produced the following sons. Shraddha gave birth to Shubha. Maitri produced Prasada. Daya gave birth to Abhaya. Shanti gave birth to Sukha. Tushti gave birth to Muda. Pushti gave birth to Shamya. Kriya gave birth to Yoga. Unati gave birth to Darpa. Bodha gave birth to Artha. Meda gave birth to Smriti. And Takshika gave birth to Kshema. And he gave birth to Prashaya. Murti, a reservoir of all respectable qualities, gave birth to Sri Narayan, the Supreme Personality of Godhead. So, of course, when we hear these, there's just like a lot of names. It's, of course, hard to grasp all this. There is not histories about all of these different personalities. Probably there is in the heavenly planets, where the Bhagavatam is much, much larger, or you'll find them in the Puranas that are long lost. But at least if we can give attention to the sound vibration, then we're purified. So, then this daughter, Murti, gave birth to Narayan Rishi. So text 53, just 3 more verses to go. On the occasion of the appearance of Narayan, the entire world was full of joy. Everyone's mind became tranquil, and thus, in all directions, air, the rivers, the mountains became pleasant. Text 54 through 55, the final verses. In the heavenly planets, bands began to play, and they showered flowers from the sky. The pacified sages chanted Vedic prayers. The denizens of heaven, known as the Gandharvas and the Kinnaras, sang. The beautiful damsels of the heavenly planets danced, and in this way, at the time of the appearance of Narayana, all signs of good fortune were visible. Just at that time, great demigods like Brahma also offered their respectful prayers. So, we want to remind everyone that at the beginning of the Bhagavatam class, it is customary to chant Narayanam Namaskritam Narang Chaiva Narottamam Deving Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Odirayet. So, Vyasa is including himself in this list. If we want to accomplish the goal of the Bhagavatam, then we need to take shelter of all these great personalities. And one of them, the first one there, is Narayanam Namaskrityam, offering obeisances to Narayan Rishi. Why? Again, I listened to a lot of Vinasrupa's lectures. He pointed out that Narayana is the Ishtadev of Srila Vyasadeva. He holds paramount importance in our studying and understanding of the Bhagavatam. So here, he's taking his appearance in the Bhagavatam. So, a summary of what we've just discussed is I pointed out rather in length about Dattatreya that as far as I can understand, again, anyone can challenge me on this, but as far as I can tell, Dattatreya is Vishnu Tattva manifested as a jiva. And he came for the sake of Atri Muni and also to preach impersonalism. So as far as what I mean by manifesting as a jiva is that you have all these light powers. So jivas only have a dim light power compared to the supreme powerhouse of all. And generally Vishnu Tattvas have up to 94%, I think, was it 94%? Whatever the percentage was, of Vishnu, whereas this incarnation, this avatar, he is a partial representation. Therefore, he's manifesting himself as a jiva. And then we discussed all the descendants beginning from Lord Brahma down to the first Manu, Swayambhuva Manu, and Kardama Muni's various descendants, all of his daughters, how they descended into this illustrious family tree. I mean, look at it, all these incarnations, all these Manus, they're all there coming from the descendant. That's why it's so important, at least now, before we forget, to understand these things. And then we ended with the appearance of Narayana Rishi, so that Giri Govardhan can pick up from tomorrow about that. So I'm going to take back my cursor, hit the unmute button, see, which takes a while. Here we go. See. Okay, now we're going to unmute everybody. Okay, we got through it.
Ram, well done. Well done. I'm echoing now. Can you stop the echo somehow? It's going to be hard for any of our questioners.
Could you mute yourself?
I will.
Here, I'll just mute.
Still echoing. Okay, good.
That was Sunil Prabhu. I had to mute.
Oh, okay, got it. Thanks. Would you be kind enough, I have a pen in my hand now, to list, kind of go back over the percents of Vishnu, versus Krishna, and then Shiva, and then Brahma. I've always kind of wanted to have that jotted down and memorize that. Could you?
Are you ready?
I have a pen in my hand. It goes slowly.
Krishna is 100%, and all of Vishnu Tattvas, they're up to 94%.
Okay, Vishnu's are 94%. Okay.
Shiva is 84.
Shiva is 84. Okay.
And Brahma is 78.
Brahma, 78. Okay.
And then the Tushtitas, they came.
What are they?
After that. Tushtitas, those were the expansions of Yajna. But anyway, we don't need to get into that. Those
I'll
are the
skip that. And then where do we go from Brahma? Who's next down from Brahma?
Manu Deva, the Manu Putras, Ankhtavatar, Shrestha, Rishis, and human beings. But you said you didn't want to go
so 78, I guess we fall into that category because Brahma's Jiva. That
right, so we're definitely under 78.
We have the potential to develop up to 78, and if we became Brahma or what have you. But. Okay. Right. And then just a comment, I just found that, just a thought that crossed my mind, I don't know how valid this is or not, but what seemed to, the fact that you mentioned how Lord Buddha, and I think it was from the letter from Prabhupada mentioned, that Lord Buddha was in fact Jiva Tattva,
yeah. But
yet he is, he falls in the category of the Das avatars, the 10 listed avatars. That to me kind of adds a lot of credence, if you will, or to show that even if one is Shakti Vaishavatar, one is Jiva, that he can be really, really empowered by the Lord. And the fact that Buddha, Jiva, becomes one of the Das avatars. That's adds a lot to when we talk about someone, are they Jiva or not Jiva, or are they Krishna or are they empowered? It really kind of ups the ante there. That if one becomes a Shakti Desh, he's really powerful. And
I thought Pushkar was going to say something.
I'm going to say something.
Yeah.
What I'm
Take it over. Run with it.
Now, Prabhupada's Sannyas Guru, Bhakti Pragyan Keshav Maharaj, wrote quite a nice-sized book called Vaishnava Vijay, which was a name given, I think, after he left. Well, he prepared this book during Bhaktisiddhanta's time in a serial form, in different sections, under the instruction of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And the general idea of the book was the history of Mayavad, right? And later on it became known as Vaishnava Vijay because, at some point, if you read the book, you'll see there's an explanation why that happened. So, this is Prabhupada's Sannyas Guru, right? And one of the main themes of this book, and it's not that big, but I have it here, it's a couple hundred pages, is that, look, there's two Buddhas. We don't hear about this usually in Bhagavatam purports, but and Bhaktisiddhanta completely approved of his translation and his book, that the Buddha, there's a Jiva Buddha, and then there is this Vishnu expansion. They're actually different. Now, I'm just giving you a general idea of what is one of the main themes of this whole book, and there's a lot about it, and he has all kinds of proof about it. So, we just kind of like, it's bewildering, who's Buddha, like that. But if you read that book, it clarifies. I haven't read it in like 15 years. There's intrigues. In the introduction to the book, he mentions how the book was actually disappeared. It's the original manuscript, and he himself couldn't find it for quite some time. And then one time, this is the weirdest, mysterious part of it. He says he was in a Buddhist temple I believe in Gaya, and he was put in a room. He was given a room to stay there. He was doing his investigation still, and he didn't have the original manuscript. Now you have to go back and read this. Of course, it was translated from Bengali, and he found the original manuscript in this seemingly random room. It's like, I always remember reading this, and I'm like, what? So, but he has a main point. This is Prabhupada Sannyas Guru writing a book under the auspices of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati. And he intimates that one of Bhaktisiddhanta's other disciples had out of envy or something. He doesn't really say, but he intimates very strongly that one of his godbrothers, and then he finds the book. That's a side story, sideshow, but this idea of the Buddha is explained there, and it says he really hammers away at this point that there's two Buddhas, one is a Jiva, one is actually Vishnu.
What were you going to say about Vinata?
Vinata is actually the mother of Guru. Like in the Gita, he's called Vainateya, the son of Vinata.
Oh,
like in the 10th chapter, Vainateyas Chapakshinam, of birds I am. So that's his name. That's one way to remember who his mother is, because he's named after his mother.
Okay, because they were sisters, so it's easy to get mixed up.
Right, I'm not expert at reading Mahabharata and Puranas, but that part I know because it's in the Gita.
Gautama Buddha is the prince. He appears in Nepal, and then he comes to Gaya and gets his enlightenment. Bhagavatam Buddha appears in Gaya. His parents are given. That's the Bhagavatam Buddha. So the confusion is they both have some relationship with Gaya, Bodh Gaya, Bodh Gaya. You can still go there.
So you read that book, Vidagda, you read the book?
I don't know if I got it from that book, but this is.
But you read the book.
Somewhere. Maybe I've seen it, but that's the general. If you got Siddhartha, the Gautama Buddha, the prince that leaves the kingdom, his pleasure palace in Nepal, and he gets his enlightenment under the Bodhi tree in Gaya, and the Bhagavatam Buddha. I may have heard some of this from Sridhar Maharaj. Anyway, there was a court case, and the Bhagavatam Buddha won the court case.
But I mean, they get conflated. They get totally conflated. There's no, you have to be a real insider to know, the difference.
Right, because they're also both preaching ahimsa, nonviolence to animals, and the Bhagavatam Buddha takes, he rejects the Vedas.
So Bhagavatam Buddha is the Vishnu incarnation.
Yes. He's a scheduled incarnation in his.
Prabhupada doesn't make any difference. He conflates them. Yeah.
Yeah, it's a little bit because of their teachings are very similar.
Sorry for the confusion, but I thought the Vishnu Buddha appeared in a different millennium, and he was the one that stopped the spacecrafts that were attacking the Earth planet. Remember that purport we read in Canto 1? There was a previous millennium, previous day of Brahma. There was another Buddha.
I could put my hand on that book. Hang on.
So I thought that that other Buddha was actually Vishnu Tattva, whereas this one in the Kali Yuga, in this millennium, it's a empowered Shaktivesh avatar. Yeah. And they are conflated with these two Buddhas. That I'm not. That makes a lot of sense. But as far as this incarnation, he's a Shaktivesh Jiva. No, I thought so.
I'll find that book, but it takes a little while. I got a lot of books here.
It's possible. It's possible he's Shaktivesh. But Narayana Rishi, is that two personalities or one?
Yes, we're going to find out. But yeah, it's two twins.
Right.
One Jiva and one Vishnu.
So that's interesting. Yeah. And then he's Vishnu, but Krishna's. I'm reading Uddhava Gita these nights, and Krishna's telling Uddhava he didn't have time to go visit them, and he wants him to carry the message of that he gave him, Uddhava Sandesh in 11th canto to Narayana Rishi. He did all these other things. He saved. He fulfilled the desires of so many, including Devaki, recovered her sons, his spiritual master, what is his name? Sandapani Muni got his son, found his son. He did all the things, but he didn't have time for going to Bhadarak Ashram. So he's having Uddhava deliver essentially the same information that he gives in Bhagavad Gita to Narayan Rishi.
Anyway, I got this book in my hand. And
the stages in Bhadarak Ashram.
I got this book in my hand, and there's a bunch of chapter headings, like 197. I mean, it has small little chapters. And the whole book itself is only 100 and there's more chapter headings than there are pages. But okay, so just to read the names of these sections, and sometimes there's more. Okay, Vishnu Avatar Buddha differs from Sakya Singh Buddha. Now I'll just read. I'll go to page 22, which starts this whole section on Buddha, and see what it says here. Okay. All right. He says, Lord Buddha, the son of Anjana, will appear in the province of Gaya. And he's quoting Bhagavatam. Buddho nam Nanjana Shuta, that's in 1.3. Kikate Shu Bhavishati. Translation, Lord Buddha will appear in the province of Gaya. This is a purport, he writes, according to authorized Shastra, this confirms that Lord Vishnu's incarnation of Buddha appeared at Gaya in the Bihar region of India as the son of Anjana. On the other hand, it is a historical fact that Shakya Singh Buddha was born at Kapila Vastu in Nepal as the son of Maya Devi. So it is clear that the two are not one and the same, and that although Shakya Singh is today revered in this world as the Buddha, he factually has no relationship in any way regarding Vishnu Tattva or any connection with any incarnations of Lord Vishnu. At different places in the Puranas, Mayavadism has been defined as belonging to the Buddhist pantheon. Because of this, it is imperative that we deliberate fully on what is the Buddhist pantheon. Any system of philosophy preached by Vishnu Avatar Buddha must be understood to be authentic Buddhism, and as he is one of the 10 incarnations of Lord Vishnu, we must acquaint our readers with what the scriptures state about his incarnation as the son of Anjana at Gaya, and who is the original Buddha. In the eternally transcendental slokas of the Gita Govinda we find, and he has a big long Sanskrit verse with the word meanings, and then the translation, salutations to you, O Krishna, who possessed the 10 incarnations, protecting the Vedas as Matsya, I see, and then he's giving all these Balaram, he's giving a summary of what all the 10 do, and the last one is Buddha, deluding the meat-eaters as Kalki. Also in the Das Avatar Stotram by Jayadev, in the 9th sloka, there is further information about Vishnu's incarnation of Buddha. Nindasi yagya vidir, ahaha shruti japtam, nishada hridaya dashita pashugatam, Keshavadrita Buddha Sharira Jai Jagadisha Hare. O Keshava, who incarnated as Buddha, Lord of the worlds, Hari, O kind-hearted one who blamed the group of Vedic hymns and sacrificial injunctions condoning the slaughter of animals. Well, we wouldn't say it's awkward to say they blamed it, but he decried this idea. Now, if you want to hear more, I could read one more page, which will clarify. Now, what must be seriously considered is what relationship does Vishnu incarnation of Buddha have with Shankaracharya? Since Shankaracharya's Mayavadi philosophy is totally rooted to Buddhism, we must determine with a clear methodology the nature of the two. The opinion which Shankara disseminated about Buddha cannot be accepted as being correct and justified. Shankara presented the idea that Vishnu Avatar Buddha and Sakya Singh Buddha were one and the same. Now, this is where it came from. Were one and the same, which is completely false, and thus this was the beginning of the illusory mechanisms of Mayavad. Our revered Gurudev, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, revealed that Sakya Singh Buddha was merely a vastly learned person who had attained some inner realization. So when Shankara placed Sakya Singh on the high absolute platform of incarnation, then he displays undue reverence for him, although, as we have demonstrated earlier, he also spoke of the same Sakya Singh as being in delirium, bleeding in insanity. These contradictions, one of reverence and one of feigned, pretended anger, were used to misguide the people, and the artificial web of illusory Mayavad expanded. Now, the fundamental question arises: why Shankaracharya misrepresented Sakya Singh Buddha as being Vishnu avatar, as if the two were synonymous, and where was this first begun? The answer is to be found in Shankaracharya's Sharik Bhasha, where he surreptitiously interpolated the word Sugata, which is indicative of Vishnu avatar Buddha, and falsely used it instead to represent Sakya Singh Buddha. The relevant extract from Sharik Bhasha is as follows, and he quotes it: Sarvata api, Sanskrit translation, by all means necessary. You ready? Is that enough? I mean, it goes on.
Yeah,
no, it's nectar. Keep going.
Well, by all means necessary, this is Shankara says in his Bhasha, by all means necessary, the doctrine of Buddha is to be disregarded by those who desire their own welfare, in our opinion. See, he was trying to get rid of Buddhism. That was his mission. And now the purport says, by using the word Sugata in his Sharik Bhasha commentary on Vedanta, Shankara falsely interpolated Sakya Singh as if he were Vishnu avatar. The word Samaya indicates the ontology or Siddhanta. Sugata Samaya or Sugata Siddhanta then indicates Vishnu avatar Buddha and not Sakya Singh Buddha. The use of this name Sugata Buddha for Vishnu was already existing in Buddhist scriptures. Amarakosh dictionary gives evidence that bears witness to this. Buddhist atheist Amara Singh was the compiler of this ancient and very authorized book. The chronology of Amara Singh's advent was about 550 AD, which places him about 150 years prior to the advent of Shankara. He was the mixed caste son of a Brahmin father, Savara Swami, by a Sudra mother. The proof of this is recorded in ancient Sanskrit lore. So we could see that Kesha Pragan was quite a good scholar and to write all this. It goes on for pages, this whole section. Then he gives something about Sabar Swami giving birth to Varamahiviram here, like that. And then he has
clearly
more and more confirmations. He goes on, just hammers this point. Did a lot of research. Went all over India to research this book.
One thing is that
Shankar mixed the two.
Yeah, that's just something. And he goes on and on.
That's an amazing book. One thing is that the way it's stated there, it sounds like Vishnu avatar is Vishnu Tattva. Although Srila Prabhupada in this letter to Jayadvaita, he's saying that the Buddha in the Bhagavatam is a Jiva Tattva, is empowered. That's confusing.
Well, I have a question.
Yeah, that's
the Buddhism
detail.
It's a good chance Prabhupada might not have seen this book. I'm not sure. The book was actually finally translated, and of course probably could have read it in the original Bengali and Sanskrit, but this book was only translated into English and popularized in '69, I think, which is a year after Kesha Pragan left the planet.
So this wishy-washy Buddhism that we see all around the planet now, or most of the Buddhists I meet, even the monks, aren't even vegetarian. Are they coming from Sakya Singh Buddha or what we call Bhagavatam?
No. They're followers of Gautama, the Siddhartha Buddha that was born in Nepal, a prince to a king who renounced his royalty and went and practiced austerities. That's the main Buddha that's being followed across Asia.
But the one being predicted in Bhagavatam, it probably conflates it also, it seems. I mean, he never got into that there's two.
Well, it's thanks to Shankar Acharya, it's been, like that. It's been...
Yes, it is Gautama Buddha. That's the Buddha that is being worshipped in the temples all over the planet. I am a member of the Daifukuji temple, and I have had some connections with the Buddha myself. In fact, I play shakuhachi, and I play at major religious, spiritual celebrations of the Buddhist temple here in Kona. So I know a little bit about this. Anyway, right now it's kind of 7:30. It's kind of too late. Maybe we can leave this. We can table this for some other time. But, there are some songs and dharanis that we used to sing there at the Daifukuji temple where we glorify all the incarnations of Vishnu. I mean, these are some of the most sacred texts of Buddhism, and they glorify the one who appeared as a turtle, the one who appeared as a fish, the one who appeared as a lion. These are very sacred texts of Buddhism, and they glorify all incarnations of Vishnu. Also, when I was in Taiwan doing Sankirtan there, I met many Buddhists there, of course, because that's what we were doing. And one of the, I asked questions to one of the Buddhists that spoke English at one of the monasteries, and he said, yes, we are vegetarian. We don't eat garlic or onions, and we observe fasting from grains and beans twice a month. So they follow Ekadasi as well. So, I mean, there are different sects of Buddhism. I think my ultimate conclusion is that over the years and centuries, the original teachings have pretty much been lost. But there are still some remnants of people that follow the teachings of Gautama Buddha as it should be. Anyway, I think the closest interpretation of the appearance of Buddha and his teachings are in Prabhupada's books, really, about what he came, why he brought his teachings here. Is not only in Prabhupada's books, but also in that conversation that he had with Kirtanananda and Hayagriva when they asked him about Buddha, and then he explained, well, this is why Buddha came to the planet, and this is why he acted this way. So, yeah, it's kind of a long conversation here, but, as far as I'm concerned, the Buddhists the Buddhists that I know, they do worship Buddha as Gautama Buddha and as an incarnation of Vishnu.
It's kind of mixed. So can I add something a little separate from this? Dattatreya. If you Google Dattatreya, you'll get 3 heads on some of the pictures. That he's all 3 incarnations. That we see in the verses here: the Brahma, Shiva, and Vishnu. So there's some confusion there too.
Sorry I brought it up. But interesting, really interesting.
And also, he keeps dog, right? He keeps a dog or many dogs or
whatever.
They always show him with dogs.
Yeah. Anyway, there's a lot of confusion, and there's some reasons for it, but there are definitely 2 Buddhas.
It's kind of auspicious.
I thought Ramananda did a great job. A lot of verses, and did a great job.
I want to thank Pushkar. It's kind of almost serendipitous that when today's the day that Prabhupada took sannyas, and Pushkar's reading from Kesava's book. That's kind of puts a cherry on the top.
I should order this book if you could get it. It might be out of print, Vaishnav Vijay, though. It might be you could download it or something. I'm not sure. I know the guy that printed this book that maybe you know him is Swami Varaha. He always stays around ISKCON, but he took sannyas from Vamandev, Narayan Raj's older godbrother. And he was in Hawaii actually one time. Maybe Narhar, you remember him. He's like a tall guy, about 6'4", black devotee. And he was annoying me actually when I was the president there. So I told him to go to Narayan Raj. He didn't like anybody in ISKCON, but he wanted to be initiated. So I told him to go to Narayan Raj, knowing at the time that Narayan Raj wasn't even initiating back in 87. So he went, and I never knew what happened to him until years later. I found out he got initiated by Vaman, because before... when Vaman used to initiate everyone, and Narayan Raj was only a Shiksha Guru. So he doesn't hang out with the Narayan Raj people hardly. He always hangs out. Anyway, he printed this book and several books, other books. Interesting fellow. But Varaha Swami. I'm not sure. He reprinted it recently, so there might be, you could find it online. I don't know if he's advertising it.
If we go on it much longer, we're going to hit a record for late. So
a lot of nectar today. Thank you, everyone.
We'll go ahead and stop. Thank you very much for it's Srila Prabhupada.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.